What is up, everybody? A lot of you guys remember the video. I don't remember if it was last year or 2 years ago, but we basically broke down the different types of NFL coverages and highlighted what players did the best against those coverages. And you guys have been asking for us to redo that video for some weeks now. We wanted to get some data under our belt so we could do that for you guys. And it's week 5. We got 4 weeks of data, or week 6, actually. We got 5 weeks of data under our belt, and we're going to get this thing going. I'm with my man, JJ, as always. And today, no bets. We're just gonna talk some ball, and you guys can use this for your own knowledge as we go along. But JJ, how are we doing, man?
Doing good, ready to talk some ball, start a new week.
Love it. And as you guys know, JJ, when it comes to stuff like run schemes and coverages, as much as I know, JJ knows more. He's the man to go to with this. So I'm excited to talk to him about this. But let's get this thing rolling. And we're going to start off with the different types of coverages. This is 2 screenshots from the same play, but it gives kind of the idea that we are looking for. So in the top screen, you see what is called 2 high coverages, which is 2 safeties. And as you can see, it leaves this middle of the field open a lot because you can't leave the receivers open. You have to account for them. And by putting 2 safeties high, you're pulling one out of the box here basically, and it leaves this middle of the field open. Any receiver coming across the middle, it leaves a lot more space. And the alternative is if you're blocking in this space, that means you're probably giving up something wide open behind the line. And then at the bottom here, this is post snap on the same play, but it presents the idea where one of these safeties drops lower, whether it's to pick up a tight end or a running back coming across in man coverage, whether there's a run play that they're tucking in for, or whether it's just they're just switching up the look after the snap and one of them comes into the middle of the field here. What this does is it leaves a lot more open on the boundaries here. This is where we see more of the outside receivers start to win. So you guys will kind of see that as we go through the data a little bit. But first, JJ, why don't you tell everybody who's running the most single high coverage in the NFL?
Yeah, right now it's Atlanta, and surprisingly, not surprisingly, with their new coordinator, that's what they wanted to run. I believe they wanted to run a little bit more too high last year with their previous coordinator, but Detroit's not too far behind, as you can see here.
I mean, Detroit loves their man coverage, and that's something we're going to see a lot of as well. Is uh, single high coverage, since you have to keep everybody accounted for, usually lines up with man coverage. And Detroit loves their man coverage, so we'll get into more of that as well. But in that screenshot next to us, you see the top half of the league in single high coverage rate, and you can also see their yards per play allowed in single high coverage. So Atlanta runs it a lot. They also only allow 3.8 yards per play in that coverage. They're really, really good at it. Then we get to teams like New Orleans, opposite end of the spectrum. They run it a lot, not very good at it. So when you see these 16 teams, or let's focus on the top 10. We see these top 10 teams going against some of those outside receivers. You're going to want to target those outside receivers for whether it be your fantasy teams or your betting slips. So without further ado, let's get into those players. JJ, what's sticking out when you look at this list? These are the players that are top 30 in yards per out run when facing single high coverage.
Yeah, Puka and Ricky are just ridiculous. 4 yards per route run is absolutely insane.
That's like the Cooper Cup Triple Crown and like that crazy Tyreek year. Those were like, what was 3.1, 3.2 yards per out run? Just to put that in perspective of how crazy 4+ yards per route run is. And as you go down the list, I mean, you can see wide receiver, like this is all wide receivers and mainly outside guys. Like Puka moves around a little bit, but Ricky's more on the outside. Rome Odunze's season is alive and well, but he plays primarily on the outside. Tyreek, you get a little guys like Bijan, CD, Xavier Scott somehow. Those guys get mixed in. But those are the outliers. Again, you're targeting the outside receivers here.
Yep.
I don't think it's any surprise the contrast between some of these guys. Their single high yards per out run and their 2 high yards per out run, which you see in this column right here. I mean, you see Rome Odunze goes from 3.5 to 1.4. And again, that's because the 2 high coverage removes the deep ball, kind of takes away everything on the outside and forces you to go in the middle. So when these guys are winning on the outside, it doesn't matter because the coverage isn't letting them get open. It's not always their fault. Sometimes it's the defense. Sometimes it's the way the offensive coordinator is calling the plays, but you see those differences. So when you see these 30 guys going against one of the top 10 teams that we mentioned, maybe give them a shot that week.
Sometimes it doesn't matter when you got someone like Jackson Smith and Jigba. 3.3 yards per route run against 1 high and 4.6 yards against 2 high. Doesn't matter. That man's just going to cook regardless this year.
Oh yeah, and I mean he's definitely gonna be showing up at the top of both these lists. So it'll go to show it. And now we get into the too high coverage. Like we said, this eliminates the deep ball. A couple years ago, it was talked about as the Chiefs dynamite, and now it's just used around the league a lot more. It kind of dares teams to run the ball a lot more and throw a lot of those shallow routes through the middle of the field and eliminates the deep ball. When you see Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes, you want to run too high against them. And for example, in Week 5, the Bengals ran it a decent bit against the Lions to keep that JMO deep ball in check. So we're seeing it run a lot more in recent years, and you can see here in the picture some of the teams that run it the most. So JJ, I'll let you get into that a little bit.
Yeah, Minnesota is very clearly number one. It's not even close. That's just a Brian Flores defense. That's what they love to do. Too high and just blitz, 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 blitz. That's all they do. So they're going to be keeping a lot of stuff underneath. See a lot of those underneath routes winning a lot more. Buffalo is like, I mean, obviously they're not a close second, but I mean, they're there.
Yeah, and I mean, you get to Kansas City. I mean, that Spagnuolo defense. They've been running the same defense for years. They've been doing it well. Maybe not as well this year, but it's a staple of their defense. And you can see in the slot receivers and tight ends that have historically done really well against them the last 3-4 years. That's why. It's because they run a lot of too high. And we see a lot of teams as well. Jacksonville, they're running it a lot more this year. That was pretty much the opposite case of last year. And again, these are the teams where just because they're running too high doesn't mean that their pass defense is better or worse, but it gives you an idea of where offenses are going to look to target and game plan around them.
And if you look at the yards allowed and all that, like you notice the too high, there's no one above 7 yards.
Yeah.
But there's quite a few with the single high. So single high, you can be targeting deep more often.
Oh yeah, it's pretty boomer bust. So that's a good way to look at it. And when we look up the players who are the best against too high, it looks very different, JJ.
Yeah.
We got a running back leading the charge. Your boy Jaylen Warren, 5.1 yards per route run against too high. And then as you mentioned, Jackson Smith and Jigba. He was one of the highest ones in single high. He is the second highest in too high. But I mean, you look through it, you see a lot more tight ends and running backs mixed in on positions here.
And a lot more slot guys as well.
Exactly. So it makes sense. You can make sense of it. Just because you can look at a team and see, oh, they're running a lot of too high, you don't always have to look at, oh, who on that team is good against too high. It helps to double check, but for the most part, you see too high, you know exactly what you're going to target. So that's a good way to look at it, in my opinion. But like JJ said, the guys like Jackson Smith and Jigba, Puka Nacua, Amon-Ra St. Brown, it doesn't matter what you throw at them. They're probably going to dominate no matter what. All right, let's get into the zone coverage and man coverage. And this one it's a little bit more self-explanatory. You don't really need pictures for it as much. Man coverage, it's a defender is following that wide receiver wherever he goes. He's assigned to that wide receiver. If he runs to the opposite side of the field, he's going to follow him there. That's his assignment. If he runs a 60-yard go route, that defender is running a 60-yard go route with that wide receiver. And what you'll see in these coverages is the more technical route runners seem to win more. The ones who can sell the route a little better, have sharper cuts. Usually these are the outside guys, but you'll see plenty of the slot guys doing it as well. And in the picture here, JJ, I don't think it's any surprise the teams that are running it the most.
Yeah, I mean, when you just look at the man coverage, like Denver, Philly, New York, Chicago, it makes a ton of sense. It's like when you look at these teams going into the season, the one thing I would stress is looking at who is their defensive coordinator going into that year, because a lot of that stuff is going to carry over year to year with those coordinators. But yeah, Denver. I mean, when you got PS2, you got a lot of confidence everywhere else as well, especially blitz heavy. You want to get the ball out quick. You need athletic corners for a defense like that. I mean, just look at Philly. Philly has pretty good corners all around. Even with them losing stuff in the offseason, that secondary is pretty solid still.
Oh, yeah. And the other thing that I want to get into with the man coverage is you can see a lot more pass interferences in man coverage, I feel like, because when the defender knows he doesn't have as much help. He's assigned to that receiver. He doesn't have somebody, or he doesn't usually have somebody over top. He doesn't usually have somebody underneath him. So he kind of has to go all in to stop that pass. And if that means giving up a pass interference, that's better than giving up a 50-yard catch and run. So you'll see that a lot as well. And you can see, again, to no surprise, the better defenses with the better corners being better in man coverage. Denver only 4.6 yards per play. Philly 4.0. But then Chicago, with Jalen Johnson injured, they haven't had the same players that you need to run a man coverage defense, but they already had that scheme built out. So they're sitting over here at 8.0 yards per attempt. Same with the Patriots for the first, I think it was 3 weeks. They didn't have Christian Gonzalez. They're sitting at 7.7, even though they're running it a lot. They're not going to change the defense just because these guys are out, but those guys being out significantly impact how effective that defense is because, again, it's entirely reliant on that single player covering that single receiver on that play. So let's get into who does well against it. And like I said, it's the technicians. Darren Waller, a bit of a surprise here, but again, you're not really going to see linebackers and safeties able to defend a tight end that moves like a wide receiver. But then we get into the Rome Odunze, Puka Nacua, Jackson Smith-Njigba, CeeDee Lamb, Garrett Wilson, the guys who you were like, you put on the tape and you can see how special they are. It will show against man coverage, I promise you. And that's why I'm a Lions fan. Everybody cooks the Lions because those wide receiver ones always go crazy against the Lions. It's because the Lions run a lot of man coverage. And we don't have a Patrick Surtain. So those good receivers are going to look very good against the Lions. It's how
you have a Terrion Arnold instead.
Hey, respect Terrion. He's young. He's coming along. He's doing the podcast with Pat Surtain. He's taking notes. He'll be all right. I promise you. Wait until he comes back from injury. Just wait and see.
I'll wait till next year. But it sounds like he's coming back possibly next month.
Yeah, I don't think they're putting him on. I don't think they're putting him on IR. But besides the point, again, even guys like Dontavian Wicks down here, you see 2.4 yards per out run. Nobody thinks Dontavian Wicks is like a top 10 receiver by any means. But you turn on the tape, he looks good coming out of his breaks. Yeah, he can move. So, yeah, it doesn't surprise me that these are the guys that are good against man coverage. What I will say is there's some interesting ones here. We got the rookie, Tet McMillan here. Shout out to him. A.J. Brown, that split between man coverage and zone coverage, 2.5 yards per out run versus man coverage, 0.6 versus zone. That is big. It's not nothing. Tyreek Hill is obviously out for a little bit. We got Kyle Pitts as a tight end. Hunter Henry, the tight ends where they're not on the field for blocking. I'll put it that way. They're not on the field for their blocking. Those are also the ones that would do surprisingly well against man coverage. And then we get into zone coverage. And this is a little bit more nuanced in the coordinators and how they want to run it. But basically, you're not following the receiver wherever he goes. You have a designated area. Your job is to defend any receiver that is in that area. If they go to another player's area on your team, that's now his responsibility. You are just making sure nothing comes into your area. This might mean you have more help over top or underneath, but it also makes it easier for the offense to find soft spots. The possession receivers, mostly slot guys, can settle in those soft spots if they can recognize it early enough. So good coaches running zone defense can put together really good defenses. But if you don't do it well, you're basically just asking to get give up a great drive down the field through just 8 and 10 yard passes. So JJ, is there any surprises as to who's running a lot of zone coverage here?
I mean, not at all. I mean, clearly Minnesota number one being too high team. So a lot of zone blitzing there. Um, Carolina, they love their cover three. So no surprise there. Dang, I can't really see any surprises.
Seattle's the only one that surprises me, not because they haven't been running zone in the past, but I feel like with the personnel that they have, like I feel like they have some dogs in the secondary. I've always I feel like for like 2 years now I've just been waiting for them to shift into a more man heavy approach, and they
Yeah.
haven't. So that's really, I mean, they're also only 14th. It's not like they're top five, but again, when you see these matchups come on the board, target those. I don't know if smarter receivers is the right word, but they know their role is not winning one on one, and as you guys can see by the percentages, it's moving into a more and more zone heavy defense league. I don't know how Dallas is giving up 8.2 yards per attempt against zone coverage. That is, when you compare that to the rest of this group, that is astonishing.
Personnel.
I mean, yeah, but man coverage is at 6.1 and zone coverage at 8.2. Come on now.
I
But
mean, they
anyway,
barely play man coverage, so it does
yeah,
make sense. So it's like every now and then.
I guess you're right. But zone coverage yards per out run, this is where you'll see more of a mixed bag because there's a lot of different variations to zone coverage. We said single high is more aligned with man coverage, but for two high, it could go either way. It could go two high, could go single high. They could worry more about downfield passes. They could force you to pass deep and take away everything shallow. So you'll see a little bit more of a mixed bag, but what is common across the board for the most part is guys that the quarterback and the receiver, they're on the same page. They are in the middle of the field, or it's a check down, or it seems to be more fluid, I should say. Jackson Smith and Jigba, again, you guys have heard us say his name a lot. It's because he's having that crazy of a season right now. But Justin Jefferson pops into the mix. Obviously, the Minnesota Vikings have not had the greatest pass game so far. Not his fault. DK Metcalf has done a lot of yards after the catch for Aaron Rodgers. I feel like usually I align that with man coverage because if you can just beat your man and catch it and go, you're kind of gone. It has made sense a little bit when you watch the Pittsburgh Steelers because the timing of him catching it in those soft spots is just allowing him to get it in stride and get 10 yards immediately without blinking.
Yeah.
And then you see a lot of the running backs rounding out a lot of this. But if you want to think of teams specifically, you think of possession receivers. So for the Bengals, for example, T. Higgins, while Jamar Chase is great against both, T. Higgins might be the one they look for against man coverage. Jamar Chase will be more zone coverage. For the Chiefs, you might be looking at that's where Travis Kelce and Juju Smith-Schuster is just settle into the soft spots a lot easier. So just to give you guys kind of an idea of what to look for there. But I don't see any surprises between the man coverage and zone coverage splits, really.
No, not really. You just want players that can really settle into zones. And
Yeah.
Rashee Rice is going to be great when he comes back for that.
And that's hard. Like for those who shout out Matt Harmon for those who are subscribed to Reception Perception, but he does a great job of separating the success rates against zone coverage and man coverage. And what you'll find a lot is there are guys that are crazy at winning in man coverage, but then their success rate against zone coverage is really low. Like it's a very different skill. The best of the best can do both, but doing both is not meant for everybody, and not every offense wants every guy to do both. So not every offense will want every player on the field to be good at both. Everybody's got a role. For some of them, it's a sacrificial type of receiver where they're not supposed to be good at zone. They're supposed to open it up for some of the other guys to be good against zone. It all depends. But we just kind of wanted to make this video to lay it out for you that these are the teams that run man or zone or single high or two high. And these are the guys that are excelling in those types of matchups. So if you guys want more content like this, please make sure to like and subscribe. We're going to do something similar with outside versus inside receivers and another video with zone schemes for rushing schemes. So keep an eye out for that. JJ, good to see you as always. I know you're excited for that rushing concepts video.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, take care, everybody, and we'll see you guys soon.